And just like that, we are live. This is To Be Continued. My name is Christopher Daniels, and I have another individual on the line. Tell them who you are.
What up? This is Darius Brown. What's going on?
Nothing much. To Be Continued is brought to you by the VC. The VC. So whenever you get a chance, log on https://thevc.com.
Absolutely.
All right. So as you guys can see, football is ramping up. The football season is ramping up, and there's a lot of talks about fantasy football and trades and injuries and the Colin Kaepernicks of the world and things of that nature. But I just, I want to see how you feel about it. Darius, how do you think that this fantasy football season is going to turn out?
Man, I think this is probably the most interesting year for fantasy football in quite some time. Because you mentioned trades, there are a lot of moves, free agents, a lot of moves. Adrian Peterson, who has had 1,000 yards rushing every season that he's played at least 14 games in. So there's only been like 2, maybe 3 that he hasn't played a full minimum of 14 games. But he's in a different situation where he's sharing time in the backfield with Mark Ingram. So things like that. We got new rookies, Fournette down in Jacksonville. So many different things that are exciting and new this year that's going to kind of flip it upside down. So I'm interested to see how it's going to go and play out.
Yeah, you mentioned some interesting things when you said about Adrian Peterson. So Adrian Peterson, if you guys follow football, he is no longer with the Minnesota Vikings. He is playing for the New Orleans Aints. I call him Aints. I don't mind
that. I'm a Panther fan. I don't mind that.
So that picking up Adrian Peterson is a risky move. And I don't know if you agree, but you pick up Adrian Peterson, you're running into a lot of issues. Like Adrian Peterson, he's not he's not the same AP he used to be. And that's coming off of last season, and you will be taking a shot in the dark between Adrian Peterson and Bernard from the Bengals, for instance. It's like with a choice like that, it's like I can go with Adrian Peterson and he can go off, or I can go the safe route and know that that Hill and Bernard will split carries, because they're like thunder and lightning up there in Cincinnati. Yeah. So this is what I have. So as I was going through, NFL fantasy football picks, I was like, hey, let me see. Let me do a pre-draft before I get into my until we get into our league and things like that. So there were a couple of choices that I had to make, as I was picking people up.
All right.
So the first choice that I was hit with, it was Ezekiel Elliott or Julio Jones.
That's a scary one.
So in that case, who would you pick? Who would you pick in that case?
Man, well, let's see. We've got Ezekiel Elliott, led the league in rushing, led the league in almost every category for a running back last year. But again, it's the sophomore season. That sophomore slump has me nervous. Where with the whiteout, you know what you're gonna get. I don't know. People are projecting Dallas to be a contender for the Super Bowl this year. So that if you're a contender, you're starting running back on a contender. That means you're going to be putting up some yards. You're going to be getting in the end zone. You'll be scoring a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah, definitely. And so, you know, what I had to think about, I was thinking about the same thing. I was like, hey, you know, both of these NFC teams, they have a shot at going to the Super Bowl. They were both in the NFC championship last year, you know, but Dallas fell, you know, to Atlanta. But you got, you know, I'm thinking about who you have in the backfield as far as or you know, as far as like quarterback. So you have Matty Ice and you got Dak. So Dak being, you know, in his sophomore season as well.
Yep.
You know, it's like, is he gonna throw the ball that much, or is he just gonna hand the ball off? So it's kind of like, Ezekiel Elliott may get more touches this year than last year, you know, just if Dak plays better than what he played last year, you know. So I think he may touch the ball a lot more this year. So I went with Ezekiel Elliott.
Hey, that's a great point about the amount of touches he had. I'm trying to think on the number of touches he have. I'm trying to pull it up right now to be real about it. Because I want to say he had like the least amount of like the top 10 or pretty close to. I'm pulling up right now on ESPN.com, but the least amount of touches. Mm-hmm. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. He had around the most amount of touches. He had 322 attempts there, and you're seeing others in anywhere from the 220 range to the 280 range. So that's a lot of work he did last season. He put in a lot of touches to get that 1,600 yards. So he's young. He could probably handle the workload. But, you know, looking at it from that perspective, I was thinking it was the other end of the spectrum where he was doing all that damage on a less amount of carries, but he put in more work to get that. So that makes me a little nervous. And then you got the Falcons looking to rebound. They're looking to prove a point because they got embarrassed in that second half of that Super Bowl. And Matty Ice, he taking it on his shoulders. So you're thinking about someone getting maybe more carries. I don't think you get more carries than what he got last year versus Matty Ice, who's looking to prove a point, and he might be trying to toss that ball up. So on most draft boards, Ezekiel is higher, but I'm going to go with that mental mentality, and I'm going to go Julio there, the best wide receiver in the game right now.
Okay, that's an interesting pick. So we're gonna keep speaking on fantasy football, but I'm gonna give you the rundown and the choice. I'm gonna give you the rundown on what I was faced with, you know, going through each round. So the next round, it was AJ Green, LaShawn McCoy. You know, so that was round 2. Round 3, it was Lamar Miller or DeAndre Hopkins. And then I had the 4th round. It was Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So I was like, you know, Tyreek Hill, he was killing it last year. You know, speed kills. You know, but Travis Kelce, you know, he's one of the top tight ends in the league, especially because Gronk really didn't stand out last year as well as everyone thought he was going to do. And there's also some rookies, man. There's some rookies out there that's killing it too. So I was faced with another choice for a rookie, and I seen Michael Crabtree and Dalvin Cook. You know, Florida State running back. You know, and he was ridiculous. You know, in all the seasons that he played in college. You know,
right.
And then I had moving down the line, I had Carolina defense or pick up Alex Smith. I had Graham Gano the kicker for Carolina, Pittsburgh defense. Those are, I kind of, in a fantasy league that when I play fantasy, I like to be able to pick up like 2 defenses. And if I can pick up 2 strong ones to kind of keep my, my enemies from being able to pick up, 1 strong defense,
right.
Then if I can leave them with the Browns, then that's what I'll do. You know what I mean? by any means necessary. But yeah, and also Evan Ingram, rookie tight end from Ole Miss. Man, the dude is outstanding. And I was like, well, Evan Ingram, tight end, New York Giants. They're saying this is the year of Eli Manning. You know what I mean? That's what they're saying. Okay. And I kind of feel like that. I kind of feel the same way because he has a lot of threats, man. He has Odell Beckham, Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then he has the rookie from Ole Miss, Evan Ingram. And Evan Ingram is a smaller type of tight end, and he's like, I want to say he's about 6'5", probably like around 220. So he's not even, the dude is not even that huge, but he got a lot of speed, and that's what Ole Miss used him for. I don't really see him. I don't really see them using him as a tight end for long. Mm-hmm. He'll probably eventually roll into the different roles of like what's the guy from the Cardinals from back in the day, David Boston. Right. Moving to a role like that, like more of like a blocking slot receiver, or they set him up in a bunch formation. You got Sterling Shepard, you got Odell Beckham, you got Brandon Marshall, and you got Evan Ingram, all on one side. They're stacked on one side. Like what do you do? Who's gonna, you're gonna put a slower middle linebacker on Evan Ingram, or do you go all cornerbacks, or all defensive backs, and be susceptible to the run,
Hey, it's a good question. They got a lot of problems that they could be putting on some people this year.
All right, so now I got a few questions for you. Questions for you. All right, so we're gonna play a little game called this or that, or him or him. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, so you're faced with these choices right here. You got Matty Ice, Drew Brees.
I'm going on the redemption train. And let me get Matty Ice. He's got the #1 wide receiver in my book, Julio Jones. So definitely go with Matty Ice.
Okay. Speaking of Julio Jones, we got Julio Jones, Antonio Brown. Who do you go with?
Well, I just made the claim that Julio is the #1 wide receiver. I know that's debatable with my man Antonio Brown, but they're motivated, man. That's the theme. That sounds like the theme of this podcast, the motivation of Matty Ice and Julio Jones and ATL, although they will be #2 in the South. But let's go ahead and pick up Julio Jones there.
Okay, and the last one, we got Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott.
This one's tough. I think we talk about what are people's motivations to do well. We know Le'Veon Bell is in a heck of a contract situation in Pittsburgh right now. You've got Ezekiel, who we're talking about, got to avoid that sophomore slump, over 300 carries a year last year, meaning he took on a brunt of the workload. I don't think that the Cowboys are going to, projecting on the long run, they're not going to want to beat their workhorse like that this year. And I'm going to say Le'Veon Bell with that money motivation. Money is a heck of a motivator, and he wants to show that he's worth the highest running back salary in the league, and he's going to prove it this year. So definitely take him over the sophomore.
All right, so This is my suggestion. Do you have any suggestions for fantasy football teams as far as kickers go? The least worried about person on, you know what I mean, on your roster. Like who would you go with? You know, like who would you go with?
Man, that's a heck of a question right there.
I like the guy. I like the guy from the Baltimore Ravens. I can't remember
Tucker.
Yeah, I like Tucker. The only reason I don't like him, you know, as an athlete, but I only like him because Joe Flacco, he can't finish most of the time, and you know, and he don't have those key persons. So, you know, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna, you know, the Ravens are gonna kick at least, you know, 3 to 5 field goals a game, you know. So that's how I look at it, man. I'm like, well, he'll probably get a little bit more shots than anybody else, and he is usually my go-to guy for, you know, my fantasy football leagues. Who do you think?
I would probably have to go with Novak, Nick Novak out of Houston. For the reason is I think they're going to have a rookie QB starting, and I think he's going to be able to get him into that 20-yard range. I think Watkins, former Clemson quarterback, will be able to get the starting role, get them. But I see there might be some problems getting the end zone. He already had one of the highest amount of attempts last season, so I see that carrying through here again this season. So I would say Nick Novak. If you can't get Tucker, Tucker has been super accurate over the year, and I would have Novak as your number 2.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. So speaking of kickers, we're gonna change lanes here. We're gonna move on to college football.
Okay.
So there has been a story that has surfaced, and it's been going around about this young man that's down at the University of Central Florida, and he is a kickoff specialist. His name is Donald Haye. And you know, brilliant young man. You know, he's into like the videos with YouTube and social media. But there was a troubling issue, you know, with him and his YouTube accounts and things like that. So he was accused by the NCAA for monetizing, for receiving funds for monetizing his YouTube videos.
Right.
And, you know, and I don't really know the intricacies within the NCAA rule book as far as like athletes like getting paid for using their athletic abilities to gain money and things like that. But I'm sure they have a clause within, you know, their rule book that states that if players receive any sort of compensation for anything to include athletic abilities at a university or using their name, then they can be penalized for that. What is your take on like the whole Donald Haye situation?
Yeah, so it was an interesting. It's the ongoing topic, right? Should players be paid? Can they at least get paid for their likeness? Can they sign an autograph and get paid? All these things right now, the answer is no. The NCAA, for whatever reason, they try and hide it and disguise it under this amateur status. Yet, if you were to go work at Burger King for minimum wage, that is legal by NCAA standards. So you can make money. So the ruling is is not about you can't make any money, but they have a funny way of how they look over the who's giving you that money. So they've kind of assessed the situation, and they actually said he can make money on his YouTube page, but there's an exclamation point on it, right? So let me pull this up here. Let me see if we can if I can work this out real quick so folks can see.
Yes.
And
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying about compensation, but go ahead.
Yes, I pulled it up for those who are listening on the podcast on Google Play or Stitcher or wherever podcasts are found. I've got the NCAA statement regarding Mr. Donald De La Haye, and they basically say they had basically a hearing, and a waiver was granted on July 14th, which let's see here. Let's see what they say. After the national office received the waiver request from UCF, so UCF put in a waiver to basically say that this was not a violation of the NCAA's rule. That process was used to confirm that De La Haye could monetize his video activity as long as it was not based on his athletic reputation, prestige, and ability. All right, so what they're saying is he can make money on his YouTube, but as long as it doesn't have anything to do with him as an athlete, which is weird. So he could, but if you go to De La Haye's YouTube channel, well, what are the videos that he's putting out? It's he's putting out videos like quarterbacks be like, cornerbacks be like, running backs be like, my worst kicking day ever. Him kicking balls into doing like trick shots, kicking balls into his car window, kicking it into like a third story of a parking garage, things like that. So all of his videos, for the most part, probably 99%, are him doing something athletic. But the NCAA says you can do whatever you want as long as it's not athletic. But that's who he is. That's what he knows. That's like, Chris.
That's crazy.
Go out and make me some videos on fly fishing. I mean, if that's not what you do, how you gonna go out and do something different? So
exactly.
But so he had to, at the end of the day, he had to make a choice. Does he could either drop his YouTube monetization, he can keep making videos but not make any money off of it and continue playing college football. He could continue playing college football, continue with the YouTube videos, but try a different lane that has nothing to do with his personality, or maybe a different part of him that maybe not as popular as his other videos, and maybe suffer a hit to his brand that he's building. Or he can do what he's doing and he could quit the NCAA in protest and continue to make money. I'll throw the question back on you. If those are the three options, what are you doing as a young man trying to make a way?
What I would do as a young man trying to make a way, I would weigh my options, and I would weigh my options, and I would think long and hard and be like, do I want to throw away all of my hard work, that I did with like making videos and being artistic and making people laugh, encouraging people, influencing others, I would have to think long and hard to whether to take down those videos or not. And that's only because his football career, at UCF wasn't really promising. It wasn't, he wasn't a standout, kicker. And he stated that before. He was like, hey, I'm not a standout guy. I'm not the best in the NCAA. He said he can be if he trained hard, and worked hard at it. you know, if he said if he, you know, trained and worked hard at it, that he could be one of the best, but he didn't consider himself, you know, a top tier, you know, kicker in NCAA Division I football. But I think I believe I would have, you know, in that case I would have turned off the monetization, and then just continue making the videos, you know, and eventually, you know, because I don't think they don't state that you can't receive money via donations. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, we want to donate some money to you, man, to keep your, you know, your social media figure up. You know, we want to be able to, you know, help you out with production. So we want to help you get like a camera or something like that. Or, you know, if he wanted to take a trip, for instance, because he took a trip one time to Arizona to go visit Sean King, one of the kicker for the Oakland Raiders, black guy. And he wanted to, you know, he went out there, like something like that, being like, hey, we'll pay for your plane ticket or something like that, like, so you could, you know, get to these places or whatever. So he could have weighed his options, but I think he feels like, hey, I can basically keep making my money, doing my YouTube videos, and I could go try out for an NFL football team within a year or so, you know, and that's probably where he was thinking at, or where he was getting at. But he also posted a video and he was devastated because, you know, he was given an ultimatum, and he ultimately chose, you know, doing his YouTube thing and you know, getting his name out there and things like that. But Donald De La Haye, he currently is ineligible, you know, to play football. And he is seeking monetary donations via GoFundMe.com. So, you know, I'm not sure, you know, if anyone, you know, that's listening out there, if they want to, you know, contribute to him and help him out, because his football scholarship was taken from him. So any of the monies that was used, you know, for his scholarship was basically taken away. But I think he should have went with a smarter choice. But sometimes you have to take risk, you know. Sometimes you have to take risk in order to, you know, take risk and feel uncomfortable in order to get to the next level, you know. So that's probably where he was going at with this whole thing.
Well, let me throw some more things at you and see if this, because the more I look at it, I'm kind of like, huh. Okay, so a lot of his videos, he is, and I've heard I don't know if this part is true. I didn't get the opportunity to verify. He was saying from what my understanding was, he's trying to make money for his family. I know he was born in Costa Rica. I don't know if his family still lives in Costa Rica, if they moved to the States. So I don't know the background and the details, okay? But a lot of his videos, he's shown jumping over this car, kicking a football into this car. Do you know what kind of car he's kicking into? It ain't a Pinto.
What kind of car?
It ain't a Tracer. I don't know what year it is, but it looks like
a Cadillac, huh?
It's a nice Cadillac, right? So this poor boy just needs donations. I don't have a Cadillac. All right. I don't have a Cadillac. Can I get a donation page right here on thebc.com for my Cadillac? Okay, so let's put it in perspective. Let's also see what this horrible thing, like I got to research his stats, because I've seen videos where he was like a top D1 prospect for kicking and punting. But I'm looking, I can't find any stats. It looks almost as if all he does is kickoffs.
Yeah, he's a kickoff specialist.
Okay. All right. But that's not the point. I was just trying to see what the heck does he actually do. All right. So I don't know how many kickoff specialists, I might be wrong, are in the NFL. So that's probably why he's leaning to the YouTube. I think you got to kick some field goals. But yeah. I may be wrong here. You either got to kick some field goals or punt. I've seen punters do the kickoffs. I've seen those who kick the field goals, but I don't know of anybody who just kicks off in the NFL. So I may be wrong there as well. But my point is, let's look at what's happened. I don't know, because the controversy has happened and I wasn't aware of him before the controversy. I don't know what the takeoff point is. But what I mean by that is, if you look at some of his earlier videos, they're in like the 70,000 views, 60, 80, 90,000 views. And that's a lot of views. That's a lot of views on YouTube. You can make a decent amount of change. But what has he made as of lately? 400, 300, 500. That video you talk about where he saying he lost his scholarship, 770,000 views. Let's put that in perspective, Chris.
Okay, let's see. Let's do the math. Let's do the math.
They say you can make roughly around $7 per 1,000 views. $7 per 1,000. So his old video, 70,000 views, $7 a view. So I think there's a cut involved with YouTube. So maybe let's generalize it, 150 to anywhere to $300 per, like something like 70,000, because I don't know what the YouTube cut split is. So you jump that up to 300,000. He's making a profit off of this controversy. He is not just a lonely kid. Yeah, it sucks that he even has to be in this situation, but for the short term, he is profiting big time off of these, off of this controversy. His channel has blown up because of this. And
yeah,
but here's the thing, Chris, you're talking about just maybe demonetizing for a moment, finish your career. He would have been a junior. What is he gonna do in the 2 years once his career would have been done? All right, in 2 years, is he gonna have the knowledge, the creativity to sustain this? Because popularity comes and goes, Chris. You could be hot right now and be at 300, and then you could be at 33 in 2 years. So that's the other thing about maybe sticking with it. But fighting the man as he's doing now is definitely working in his favor.
Oh yeah, definitely, man, definitely. So yeah, it's man, yeah, he's coming out on top, depending on the cut and everything like that. He has to pay to YouTube or whatever. So that's roughly around like $5,000, $5,200 or so for just that one channel. That was 747,000 views.
That one video.
Yeah, that's just that one video, and you are right. And I was kind of I thought about that also. I was like, I was looking at his GoFundMe account. And I was like, well, let me see how many views he has, and I looked at his views, and I was like, oh wow. I was like, that's that's a pretty penny, $5,000, so and then you have other videos that you're in the threes, and so like 300,000. So maybe he feels like, hey, he can be the next YouTube sensation, or he may be able to take this thing by storm and just run with it, But I would definitely say that the young man made a prompt decision. I'm pretty sure he thought through and he tried to figure out what would the best move be for him and his family and his career. And the guy, he is a marketing major, and I want to say he has some sort of background in like mass communications or something of that nature. Or if he didn't roll into that section, that wouldn't be that bright. I think he should really move into that mass communications as a minor, along with the the marketing side of it, because who knows, maybe 5-10 years down the line, man, we may run into this guy and he may be doing some huge things. All right, so that concludes the portion of Donald De La Haye, and we want to move on to something similar, a similar subject, and this is based off the same topic that we was going off of Donald De La Haye, but if the NCAA was paying their college athletes, then they wouldn't, we wouldn't be having this conversation. These guys should be getting paid, for what they do. These guys are professionals, so to speak. They haven't met the professional, they haven't hit the professional mark yet, but these guys are professionals because they've dedicated their adolescent hood, so to speak, to the game of which they play, and they've shown that, especially when they get like full scholarships, like being able to get a full scholarship and go to school and and things like that definitely speaks volume to the level of athleticism that these players withhold.
Absolutely. And there's so many, this is a hot topic. Should they get paid? Let's take a look at all these, whether it's donors, whether it's merchandise, whether it's profiting off of their likeness. Jim Harbaugh at Michigan is racking, just over $9 million.
Yeah, he's killing it. It's killing it.
Killing it, right? He made something like $7 million the year before. Saban is just under $7 million. Urban Meyer's at $6 million, and the list goes on. Millions and millions of dollars. They're getting bonuses on top of these dollars. And just think about all the coaches who have been fired before their tenure's up, and yet the colleges are still paying millions for these coaches who aren't even there. So my point is, maybe we take a chunk out of these college coaching salaries, and you can start divvying up some of the millions to the kids who are getting yelled at and ordered to come to practice, weights in the morning, before class, go to class, up in the afternoon practice, then having to study in the evening, breaking their backs for this 4-year tenure, 3-year tenure, 2 years if you're in basketball, and start paying these people. You have the means to do it. It's just you're disguising it to pad your pockets.
It's crazy, man. I'm gonna take a page out of Stephen A. Smith's book. It's ludicrous, man. This is ludicrous. It's just like you have college coaches making huge salaries. Like I for one, I like the way coaches operate, and they should be compensated for what they do. They coach, teach, and mentor these young men and women coming out of high school, and they're like they're like their mothers and fathers from a distance. You know what I mean? But $9 million, $9 million. And they mentioned, it was like, oh yeah, but he has to pay a $2 million life insurance, $7 million. You know what I mean? So so what life insurance? You know what I mean? Like, you want me to pay $2 million? Okay, that's too easy, man. That's too easy. You don't even make it to the championship game, but you make $9 million. You don't even make it to the NCAA college football championship.
You're a failure.
Yeah, you make it $9 million. $9 million. So let me inform our viewers of some little known facts.
All right.
So just like you said, Jim Harbaugh, he was paid a whopping $9 million in 2016. Also, everyone loves the SEC, man. The SEC leads college football with the highest paid staffs.
Mm.
The highest paid staffs. I'm talking about down to the defensive back coach. You know what I mean? I'm talking about down to the offensive line coach. You know what I mean? Like you're only in charge of these 8 individuals. We only got 8 on the roster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just in charge of these 8 people, but you're gonna make some money. So here's another fact. So Texas A&M, Texas A&M's offensive coordinator Noel Mazzone made roughly $965,000 in 2016.
That's near $1 million.
That's
Darn him. When's the last time Texas A&M have Texas A&M?
Manziel, man, Johnny Manziel. That's the last time they've actually done some things.
They're making some money off of Manziel right now.
Yeah, they're definitely making money. But yeah, that's like so also I did a little bit more research. So in the ACC, there are a couple of linebacker coaches in defensive back coaches that's making roughly $300,000 a year. That's not including bonuses.
But they worried about the $5,000 the young kicker in Orlando, Florida is making. Exactly.
I feel like these guys, they should be able to get something like either like, I'm not sure if these guys get free meals or I don't know if these athletes, guys and girls, I don't know if they get free meals
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think they under the scrutiny that people, selling autographs because they say they're hungry, which, my wife was a college athlete on a full ride. And at the time, they had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, how many people really only eat 3 times a day? Especially when you're an athlete working out, you need to energize your body. So you need to eat more than the standard 3 times a day. At that time, we graduated in 2005. That was all you got. Unless your mom and dad were sending care packages or sending money 3 times a day, that's it. And you're just hungry for the rest of the day. So I think they've now, because of people getting busted and saying this is the reason and using that, they've added where you can go and get something to eat anytime you want. But what about clothes, right? What about, shampoo and all these other necessities that you need money to buy? So it's a very weird thing when we talk about the millions coaches making and turn around where someone's not doing something that had in the past seemed illegal. Okay, we can understand, okay, you want me to sign footballs and so somebody can go and sell it and make, a couple grand off of it or for an appearance. We get that, but someone's making a YouTube video, not hurting anybody, not doing anything shady. And that's a problem. So the NCAA is very weird to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we want. I want to know, Darius. I want to know. So if you were gonna pay college athletes, if there was a budget set, what would be a reasonable amount of money to pay a college athlete?
Great question. Maybe a difficult question too, because when you say college athlete, okay, are we talking the football stars, or are we talking about that bring in 70,000 people to a stadium? Or are we talking about the swimmer who is a college athlete and there's 4 people in the stadium, right? They're both college athletes, and I think that's a part of the problem. We haven't had the right plan to execute this and take this from free to paid. But so that's a hard question. I would say at bare minimum wage, at the bare minimum wage, and that varies from state to state. Now that's pennies compared to the millions we're talking about that boosters are rallying up to pay these coaches. But they're doing a job. So at the bare minimum, I would say you'd have to have a floor and a ceiling. So if I don't even know what minimum wage is now, maybe it's $8.50 in states. Obviously, I think it varies state to state, but let's say $8.50 an hour. There's a set amount by NCAA by law, the amount of time that you can spend practicing. So these things could be recorded and documented. But maybe you start them off at maybe $10 an hour. All right, and then there's the question, Chris. Okay, does your former Deshaun Watson, does he make, as a quarterback on a national championship team, does he make $10 an hour just like Joe, Jose, on the soccer team who's not making that much? So there may be a sliding scale. Maybe your max is maybe your max is at 15. And that lets everybody compete at an equal playing field with the small schools at UCF and Alabama because we have a certain salary. But I think you start at minimum wage and kind of maybe work your way up. I think that's fair because a normal college person is not going to go out and get a $60,000 job, in most circumstances. So that's why I start there.
Okay. That sounds good. That would be reasonable. And I think, like you were saying before, like that would be the most difficult part, is to try to figure out like who deserves this certain amount of money. Like, the individual that brings, that packs the stadium out, the number one recruit in the nation, you know what I mean? Does he get paid more than the swimmer or the goalie for the soccer team? You know what I mean? So it's just like that would be the hardest part, and they could, some players could easily scream, discrimination. They can be like, hey, well, one of, America's favorite sport is baseball, so you could easily be like, hey, hey, these baseball players, this pitcher is getting more money, than this football player or this basketball player or the wrestler, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, well, he has a special skill set, so it could easily be chosen as like, hey, we're being discriminated against because it could be hey, we're the women's basketball team. We don't drive more ticket sales than the men's basketball team. So you guys won't be getting paid as much, but you're going to get something, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, hey, well, we can't control that. We win games. We do what we got to do, you know what I mean? To get fans here, so that's probably another angle that, other, NCAA athletes will come at it.
What about this? Maybe it's up to the athletic director. Maybe NCAA says, hey, every school has a $25 million max for their all their programs, and how it's distributed is up to you. Because right now, there's controversy between small schools versus big schools. Well, you already, with the brand of the schools, you already have that discrepancy. You're not going to see last year's Deshaun Watson, go play for the Citadel down at, he's going to go to the big school already. So whether someone has more funds to kind of, throw at somebody, it's no different from the landscape it is today. So maybe you put a solid cap, you leave it up to the athletic director. If his school is a wrestling school and he wants the best wrestlers, because he knows his football team's not that great, maybe he wants to put most of the money into the fund for the wrestlers and have them recruited and make a wrestling powerhouse. And that's a different business. you create a business and maybe create opportunity for some schools that never existed, because maybe UCF has a excellent alumni class that can pour in maybe more money than maybe even a little bit bigger schools, because maybe they specialize in something, a field that it makes money, and maybe they can up their status throughout the nation by being able to shell out money for these players. So maybe there's a hard cap, and whatever you do with the money is your business.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. There will definitely be more of a I think it would be more of like a fighting way to get to those Division I schools, and because I don't think they would give these smaller colleges the same amount of money, or if the alumni would be like, hey, yeah, we're gonna put money towards these guys, because like the University of Alabama, man, I believe some of these D1 football teams and basketball teams, they're getting paid something. Somebody's mom is getting some sort of compensation, or some sort of voucher, or like, man, like, because I'm thinking about it like this. I'm like, hey, if I'm playing football and I'm in, say we make it to maybe say we make it to a bowl game, and we go to Hawaii, and it's like, so you got enough money now, so not everybody's family is built a different way, but so you telling me this athlete's family has enough money to fly everybody to Hawaii to watch this bowl game. Granted, the tickets are free, but you still got to get there. You still got to get there. And it's just like, so, what I mean? Like, all right, so where are they going to be staying at? So it's just kind of like somebody's getting compensated for something. And a lot of these, and I know there's a lot of, African-American males and females that, they grow up in troubled neighborhoods and, they play excellent ball, either basketball, football, baseball, or any other sport, soccer. So, and it's just like, they're trying to make it out of the struggle, so
yep. When
you get a Division I recruiter knocking on your door and they're like, hey, you can come to this university, and they're like, well, I don't believe I'm gonna go to college. Back before they had the 2-year,
right,
the one and done rule for basketball. Some of these athletes will be like, hey man, I don't have enough. I don't think you guys are gonna do anything for me at this point. I got to get my family on their feet.
Right.
You got like the J.R. Smiths of the world. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't go to college. He was like, hey, I'm not going to college. I got mouths to feed. I gotta take care. Because back in the day, it was high school guys. They had families already. You know what I mean? They was they had one one kid and one in the oven, on the way. So like, those guys are like, nah, man, I'm not going to college. I'm going straight to the NBA. I'm gonna get this money, move my family up to the hills,
right. And that makes me retract the statement that I made on, okay, they could probably make minimum wage because they can't earn it. Well, no, some of them can earn it. They could go straight into the NBA, or if the NBA didn't collude with the NCAA to prevent them from doing it, some of those beasts could go ahead and make it in professional football. That's a tougher one, but there's people that could probably do it. They're big enough. And baseball, they do it. They get signed and they get those big contracts and they go straight into the minor leagues. They give up the college baseball route to do this. So, I mean, why are we forcing people to go to college? And let's be honest, college is not for everyone. I mean, even outside of sports, not everybody goes to college. And I know so many people who I went to college with they don't use their degrees in the form that, you know, you would think that they use it. You know, they might have thought they were going to be a lawyer and turned out that, you know, they do their own marketing, or, you know, so you don't have to go to college. So why is it such a prereq? Why? And that's financially as well. So why do they have to be an amateur to compete? Open it up. If you want to make money, however you make money, forget the amateur status and just get rid of it. And if you can make money, you know, selling, you know, pictures of your face and still play college football, fine. It's not really an unfair advantage to make money and be, you know, do what you do versus someone who can't make money and play college sports.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. So I just want to, you know, I want to give the rundown for the viewers as we wrap it up. So as far as today, you know, there's, you know, NFL football going on. So we're gonna wrap it up like this. We got the Falcons and the Dolphins. Falcons are winning 7-3, 10 minutes, 22 seconds, second quarter. You got the Vikings and the Bills. Vikings are trailing 0-3 in the second quarter. Redskins, Ravens, 0-0 first quarter. Jaguars, Patriots. Jaguars are up 3-0 in the first quarter. And later on this evening, you still have the Saints and the Browns. You got Eagles, Packers, and you got Browns, the Broncos, and the Bears. We want to say we really thank you for joining us tonight. And we want you guys to keep watching and keep viewing and giving us some feedback and man, subscribe. You know, let us know what we need to cover, and let us know if we, you know, if we need to venture out into some other uncharted areas, so to speak.
Absolutely. And we're up everywhere podcasts are found except for iTunes. iTunes is kind of being screwy. They're not taking our RSS feed. That's technical talk, but we're working on it is what I'm getting at. And but otherwise, check us out. Recommend it to a friend. More importantly, make sure you tell somebody and tell them to tell somebody and tell them to tell them to tell them somebody. And then visit us at thevc.com for all of our articles that we talk about sports and movies and the drama, the entertainment. We talk about everything on thevc.com.
Everything. All right. Like, subscribe. To be continued. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.